want to thank you for being here. After 2 amazing years of growth and work, really hard work through some trying times, Relic is here now to show you some of the work that he's done in the most recent years, and it is a great example of the strengths he is and has as a math, science, and technology person. So this is his Division II Gateway exhibition, and he's going to take over it from here. After he presents, as you know, we'll have some questions and congratulatory remarks. Relic.
Thank you, Tiff. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Division II MST Gateway. I want to start by asking, how was everyone's lunch? My Division I MST Gateway was also after lunch, so I had a lot of trauma again. Anyways, so yes, this is my Division II MST Gateway, and you might see here, right, my name, I crossed out my last name because apparently my last name is spelled R-I-L-E-Y, and here's proof. The first instance on my rubric, it says R-I-L-E-Y. This is Tiff writing my last name incorrectly.
It's the 2 first names that got me.
You want more proof? Here's another one. And this one I tried to correct her. Right? This one, she just started giving up and wrote just my first name and sometimes my last initial. I do want to give a special shout out to Kathleen for spelling it correctly every single time. So thank you, Kathleen. And
Sorry to interrupt, but I just got it right. Oh.
Yes, yeah. I was going to show that, yes.
Revision.
Anyways, now we can move on to the project. So my project I wanted to do was on fingerprinting. It was I did a forensics project. My first semester in Division II was on forensics, and I really enjoyed it. And the year-end project that I did that year, which was during COVID, was on fingerprinting. In the scenario that Tiff had made, there was a cookie jar, and with people in her family that had fingerprints and stuff. Yeah, to find out who it was, I got it wrong. Hopefully I can do better this time. So I want to do a similar thing this time. For this project, I'm a latent print examiner, right? And I found a tile, which I did not bring the tile with me, with a latent print on it, and I'm going to dust it with charcoal and stuff. Well, I needed to dust it and compare it to a data set of suspects right here. And I'll be doing ACV, the ACV process, which is something I learned from mock trial. ACV is an acronym which stands for Analysis, Comparison, Evaluation, and Verification. And I'll be doing this to analyze the results and make a conclusion. So the scenario that I had came up with, right, was there was a murderer, dun dun, and the murderer had shot Mayor May Mayer. Oh man, the killer was cut on a security camera wearing all black. The killer held the murder weapon with a gloved right hand. However, their left hand was not gloved and had touched a wall on their way to kill Mayor Mayer, as seen on tape. The print on the wall was taken in as evidence for the crime scene, and it's up to me to find who the murderer is. So what I did was I wanted to have a data set of about 50 prints. Normally that's a lot of prints for such a youngster like me. And I wanted to have it from all 10 digits, but because I had 8 wonderful people sitting right here, I wanted to have prints on just their left hand, hence the left hand shenanigans in the scenario. I would then ask Tiff to choose someone to make the latent print anonymously, and I would guess who made the print and with which finger. I just thought that with the which finger would add a nice twist to the thing. Going into some background before we jump into my process, right? Latent print examiners look at different types of details in fingerprints. The first one being first level details, and they look at this major shape as seen here. The first one is loops, which start on one side, go up, and come back to the same side, like that. They can start on the left, and it can start on the right. However, there's a very rare double loop, which I think they are amazing. I don't have a picture of it, so I'll draw it. It goes like this, that's so scary, and then they had things like that. I don't know, this marker is horrible. But anyways, the next major shape is the whirl, which is just like a circle in the middle, like that. And then the last one is an arch, which starts on one side and goes to the other. And yeah, one thing to justify why which major shape you can find is there's this little triangle right here on the loop on the right side if it's a left loop. For the whirl, there's two triangles, right, like this, and an arch is usually a big one at the base of the arch. Something cool. I'm going to erase this now. The next level is called second level details, and they look at much smaller the relationships between the ridges, which are the lines that are on your fingerprint. The first one is the ridge island, which is a very small line. Ridge ending is the end of the ridge. The ridge dot is a very, very small ridge, which, to be honest, I think I would mistake that for a bit of ink pad that gets inside in the valley of between two ridges. The ridge on closure is the space between two ridges, a very small space. And ridge bifurcation is when a ridge splits into two, or when two ridges come together. Depends on your perspective. The last one, the most experienced light and print examiners look at third level details, which they look at the morphology. This is a big word, my friends, morphology. Of the print, which they look at the length. They look at the length of the ridge as well as the width, the texture, and the pore positions. These little circles here that you can see, those are the pores, right? Open pores are open and closed pores are closed. I did not look at any of these or really any of the second level details at all because I was on limited time for this project. Going into my actual project, we have the latest print. Wow, it's so beautiful. So the latent print, right, is a left loop, right? It's kind of hard to see, but it goes kind of like that, right? This eliminates all whirls, arches, and right looped prints from my data set. However, this is actually the second dusted print that I did, because my first one, I did not know how to print. I did not know how to dust for print. So I just guessed. And I thought that I had to dump as much charcoal as I could on the print, and it did not go very well, because it would skew the results because some of the charcoal would bind up inside some of the ridges, and I would not have a lot of data to use. So yeah. So now, we're going to look at our suspect number one, Will. This is Will, right? Will is nothing really special. I'm going to pass around the fingerprint papers that I have. So yeah, I'll just do it this way. So Will is nothing special, right? Will, I marked out the major shape for all of the prints. Will has 4 left loops and 1 right loop. Right, so Will wasn't that special. I do want to point out that these letters here, the initials, the W is the suspect's first name initial, and the last one is the finger that they use. P is for pinky, R is for ring, M is for middle. So yeah. Suspect 2 was Jerry, and Jerry was a very special case because all of his prints were whirls. So I knew it was not Jerry. I'm sorry. You might have wanted to participate in this project more, but it's not your fault, so yeah. So these little circles here are the whirls, and yeah. The next person was Dallas, and Dallas had told me that they had a scar on their thumb, this black line that I outlined here. So I made sure to look for the scar on the latent print, and there was none. So I immediately crossed off Dallas's thumb off the list. All of Dallas's prints were left loops, as shown here. And note that these are just sketches; they're not the actual shape of the print. It's not entirely accurate. It's just my human error in this case as well. Suspect 4 was Ben, and as you can see, the shapes of the prints are getting a bit wonky here. Just put it back there. Oh, okay. The shapes of the prints are looking a bit wonky here, right? There's this one that's almost like a trapezoid. Yeah, I mean, they are pretty weird, and that's because of my unclear instructions. I would have wanted to have the prints be rolled horizontally, but I mean, they kind of went in a squiggle, and I didn't make that clear, and that's my fault. However, it's really cool that Ben had an arch shape on his middle finger, which is really cool. Good job, Ben. And I also made sure to point out the little triangle thing here on Ben's right loop index finger as well. Suspect 5 was, oh, I forgot to pass out Ben. Alright. Suspect 5 was Lucy, and Lucy had by far the best prints, so it made it very easy to analyze hers. She had 3 whirls and 1 right loop, so therefore she had only 1 left loop, which I analyzed that very quickly, and it wasn't her. So, yes. Suspect 6 was Mirabelle, and the prints are very hazy, right? And that's because they were taken with a lot of pressure and a lot of ink. And I once again blame my unclear instructions for this error, and it's very difficult to see. But like, I mean, 3 of them I had guessed were right looped prints, and the other 2 I had guessed were left loops. Suspect 7, oh my gosh, I'm not doing so good. Suspect 7 was Sophia, and Sophia didn't have a lot of pressure in her. Hers were taken with less pressure. So they were under ink, so I once again had to guess, and I had guessed that all but her thumb were a whirl. So yeah. And suspect 8 was Flora, and there's this odd square shape here, right? Who wants to guess how that happened? You don't have to guess, I'll tell you. The way Flora had rolled her pinky, right? She had rolled it in an odd way that had made the shape causing her to miss some data. So I just had to guess where the loop started and where it ended, and things like that. She had only 1 right loop, and once again here I made sure to point out the little triangle. I do also want to point out, after I had taken these inked prints, it was a Thursday. That meant the day after was Friday. And who remembers that wonderful snow day that happened? Okay, you didn't have to raise your hand. Who remembers that wonderful snow day? Oh my god.
You're asking.
I had left my inked prints at school, so that once again limited my time for in-depth analysis. And during that weekend, I didn't have any prints to analyze, so I had spent that time making this wonderful presentation. Now that I got that out of my system, we can finally go to data analysis, right? There's nothing here because I'm gonna animate things. So I wanted to, because it was a left loop, I had eliminated all whirls, arches, and right loops, such as these whirls here, this one, and this one, all from Jerry. Thank you, Jerry, for your contribution once again. So then after that, after eliminating all whirls, arches, and right loops, I had about 57.5% of the prints were left loops, which is, you know, I eliminated about half, which is pretty good. So then after that, I looked into more in-depth analysis, such as the angle of the loop, right? This is the latent print here, and we have Will's thumb, Lucy's middle, and Flora's middle as well. So here on the latent print, it's the base of the loop started about 1 millimeter from the base of the print, and went up at about 90 degrees, right, and ended around towards the middle. So I did all of that for as many of the prints as I could. Will's ended around 1.5 millimeters and went like this, and it wasn't as, you know, upwards as well. Ended in the middle, but it wasn't really at a 90-degree angle. Lucy's ended, you know, maybe 0.5 millimeter and just went like this. It didn't end in the middle, and it was very straight. And Flora's, it's hard to see, but it was, once again, like Lucy's, like that, even though that's the middle. Does this make sense to everyone? Okay, good. So yeah, I did all of this as much as I could, and And I'm going to tell you my final guess at this point. The final guess is really important to deciding who's innocent and who's not. And my final guess was that it was Dallas's index finger. And Tiff, was I right?
No.
No. Because I was not right, Dallas would be going to jail for first-degree murder. But this is a fictional case, so Dallas is not going to jail. And this is due to all the human error that I had experienced, the over-inking, the under-inking, the skewed print shapes, and unclear instructions, we would be sending an innocent person to jail. So you have to make sure that all of your prints are good quality, right? So yesterday, I had re-inked 2 people's prints. I had re-inked Mirabelle and Sophia. Oh wait, here. Oh yeah, plot twist, right? Because of all the horrible prints, these are some bad prints that I had. I had to retake two people's prints. I chose Mirabelle due to over-inking and Sophia due to under-inking, so I could find a nice balance in the inking process. So yeah, Mirabelle's second thing. This is Mirabelle, and you can see here. I made a note here. 2 things. This one, her middle finger was too faint, and I had crossed it out because I didn't want to skew my data again. All of them were left loose, right? And even though my guess last time was that 3 of them were right loose, right? So due to the over inking, I couldn't tell whether they were right loose or left loose. So yeah, interesting, right? Sophia, right? Sophia was really cool because she had a double loop on her thumb. And it's the first time I've seen it, and it was so beautiful. I could look at that all day. She did have an arch, that's also pretty cool. The rest of them were right loops, and yeah. And compared to her under inking here and her pretty good prints here as well, they made for a good, good prints, much better. Oh, these are Sophia's as well. Alright, data analysis 2. I wanted to compare the best one from Mirabelle, the best one from Sophia, and Dallas's index finger again to the latent print. It went like this, it went like this, and went like this, and went like this. This one is tilted because Mirabelle had hers in a nice rainbow shape, which is interesting. So I also want to point out that once again, Sophia's ring finger was here. I coincidentally made a good guess on my previous one as well. And I want to make my final guess. My final guess. I don't know whether this is actually true, but my final guess is that the finger belongs to Mirabelle, right? And then it's Mirabelle's index finger. Is that true? Wait,
Your index?
was it your index?
No, I don't think so.
Was
no.
it you though?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that isn't
Yes,
mine,
that is
but-
you. But did you make the latent print?
Oh, no.
Yes. Remember when you did on the plate?
See, she's trying to lie.
Oh,
She's trying to lie.
Okay,
What did I
yeah.
do?
She is
That's a
a
duck
killer.
position. Yes, I did. Sorry.
You did. All right.
She doesn't want to go to jail for murder.
She has to.
So one reason why
Remember that finger one?
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
that much as long as you did the murder.
So it was the index.
It was.
Yay!
Thank you. I didn't mean to. So okay, Mirabelle. To be honest, I had put you here out of bias. Over the past 2 weeks, you had expressed much interest in my project, and to be honest, I would have done the same if I had done the latent print. It's like I'm working in a police office, right, or a police department, and then the murderer just comes up and looks through the window, and just to check whether the prints are going well in my favor. And also, Dallas told me that the person that did the print told them, so I mean, I had to guess whether it was either you or Sophia. Which I now realize that my detective skills are much better than my fingerprinting skills. Alright, reflection. Alright, modern fingerprinting has changed ever since the archaic inking fingerprinting technology uses like this optical scanning, which looks at the length of the ridges, the exact length of the ridges between one another to make the prints. And sometimes a skilled inker person will hold your print, hold your finger, and ask you, "Hey, be loose," and then they will do the rolling for you. I did not feel comfortable doing that due to COVID and my introversion and things like that. However, sometimes inked prints are still used, maybe in more local communities, such as like people who are working at a facility and they don't want to, like those people that have their prints on the wall, right? They don't want those people being charged for murder, just in case there's an intruder, things like that. We did that once a few months ago, right? Alright. Project reflection. Alright, so the project was about how forensics fingerprinting works. But instead I had acknowledged the effects of human error, right? Like, such as unclear instructions, skewed print shapes, and over and under inking, right? And due to these major errors, I ended up using my human eyes, who I found out are nearsighted. Like, sometimes you would use a microscope, something like a microscope, to look at everything really close for any of the second level details. And so, yeah, those were really, try to limit as much human error as you can when doing these things. You have to develop the procedure as much as you can in order to get the best outcome as well. Alright, academic progress. Alright, this is one of the final slides. Get ready to do some partying. My ever-changing enthusiasm for Division II MST. I started my time in Division II as a very strong in scientific investigation 8th grader. Right? I was in 8th grade. I was very nervous with talking with big kids in this classroom that had a crime scene in it. So yeah, and during home learning, my enthusiasm had dwindled, right? Because I couldn't really interact with people that much. So, I mean, I just did the projects because they needed to be done. They ended up getting meets eventually, some of them. So yeah. And throughout, especially this semester, I had to relearn the criteria for excellence, especially scientific investigation, because of lab reports and making sure the analysis portion was as best as I could. One of my PLP goals this year was to do as much critical thinking as I could, and I really feel like I have been doing pretty good at that. Returning to school has been a huge process because the first day back that I had was after 18 months. I had not been in school, and I had to relearn how school worked. What time was lunch? What time was my first class? Like, who are you guys? Things like that. So, and yeah, I think throughout, especially this semester, I've developed a really good connection with Tiff and Kathleen. Yeah, and I'll be really missing it. Looking forward into Division 3, I have recently been told that I'm doing animal biology. And I don't know, like, Darwinian evolution is going to be really interesting. There's going to be a lot of analysis and looking at patterns between animals and things like that. That would be very interesting. And I'm also doing advanced algebra, which I mean, Kathleen, you know, especially today, that I really enjoyed the work, the task things today. So yeah, I'll really be enjoying Division 3, but I'll really be missing this wonderful community of Division 2 MST. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming to my Division 2 MST Gateway, and enjoy your imaginary refreshments.
All right, so let's have some questions of Relic, either about his time and learning and in Division 2 or specific to this project.
Ben?
You like this enough to do it as a job in the future?
No. This was torture. Aiden?
Have you seen anyone else with double loop?
Yes. I have seen you and Will.
Yeah, both of us yesterday.
Oh,
I tested Aiden and Will during lunch, and
Oh, fun.
they both had on. Wait a minute. Hold up.
That was gonna be
Aiden
my
and Will
question
had it
about
on
what
their
happened
right
to this
thumb,
thing.
And Sophia had it on her left thumb.
Oh, I have to.
So like the thumbs are more. I feel like. Okay, I want one of you to find out whether thumbs are more common to have double loops than not. That would be an interesting
Am I
question.
allowed to use the phone during a gateway?
No,
Okay.
unless you're recording.
All right, next.
What was your favorite or most interesting thing you learned in this project?
What's your favorite thing? Just how. I loved how what it meant to be human. I think, right? Like you can make errors. Humans are very creative, but humans aren't the best at things. And the understanding what humans are, what it's like to be human, was very nice for this project. Will.
What has been your favorite like project or task ever in Div 2 MST?
I think Exhibit 1 was my first one, and it was like there was this crime scene. You had no idea what happened. There were all these props everywhere, like a broken beaker and this tape, the tape person thing, and taking pictures of all of that, doing measurements and stuff, and making a crime scene investigation portfolio thingy. And I think that was really cool. And I did pretty good on that one. Yes.
I was wondering if you could bring us back to the old school, old time, and reflect a little bit on your curiosity and wonder throughout all your years, and then maybe, thinking ahead, what are the ways in which you're gonna hang on to that?
So in
It's a big picture.
in the very beginning, Div 2 MSD, I was
No, your lifespan.
What? Okay.
Many would identify you as a curious, inquisitive person.
Okay.
Reflect a little on that.
I agree. I'm quite curious. I jump from topic to topic as much as I can, right? Like 4 years, maybe 6 years ago, River and I were studying the periodic table, and River and I had held on to that, right? Yeah, like in my first semester, right, there was the periodic table, and I was doing amazing with how many valence electrons, right? That's one of my favorite memories from Div 2, and that, like River and I had held that with us for many years, right? So like, yeah, I hold on to as much as I can, right, from what I learned. Does that answer your question? Okay. Let's move on.
Was there a reason why you didn't think to do any statistical analysis on your survey data? For example, it was fairly interesting that you said 53 point some % were left loops.
I had to count, right? I had to count what percentage, right? But then I did find, out of the 40 prints that I had took, my guess was 7 out of the 40 were right loops, 9 of them were whorls, and there was 1 arch. And due to the skewed results, these could be wrong, right? So, I don't know. I did not think to do it, but I wanted to go into the actual physical analysis of it. Will.
Does electronic fingerprinting fully remove the human error?
No. Do you want more? Do you want more?
I'll accept no.
Okay. Like I'll answer anyway. Like there's still the rolling thing, and if the skilled inker person isn't the best, they're mediocre, right? There could be something wrong, or maybe if their thumb has been pressed into the glass scanner thing, right? The ridges could be pulled in a direction, or things like that. Parts of it could remove data like that.
I'm just gonna jump in and add that I got electronically fingerprinted in order to work at a school, And I think that I definitely see what you're saying about the human error, because sometimes like the person would roll my finger and then sometimes I would have to redo it, but I also think that the program accounts for that a little bit more. So I just think that's like cool. And I was thinking about that. And I was doing it and I was looking around and we were like all looking at our fingers, like trying to figure out which shape we have.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a question. I just wanted to know.
Thank you. You're great. Scale 1 to 12, what color would your gateway be?
No fruit.
No, that's later. Whale still. Whales are pretty cool.
So you described the first attempt at doing dusting the latent print, and what a, that didn't really work, the
Yeah.
pouring on. Could you describe the process? How did you actually
Okay.
dust for prints?
So, the way fingerprints form is like oils that are on your finger, right? You know how you have oils on your face? Sometimes you can get oils from your face on your finger and then put that on a surface, right? And then that's how fingerprints are formed, right? But then you have to be very careful with the prints, because if you push it too hard, the oils will move out of place, right? And you do want to have a color that's opposite to the surface. So like I had a white tile, so I was using charcoal. So yeah, you have to be very careful, and you had to have a lot of practice, which I did get a lot.
Do you use any tools, or?
Yes, you use a brush. I used a paintbrush. So you're good.
If you were to have a fingerprint like on a chalkboard, what color do you think you would use?
On chalkboard? Oh, like a black chalkboard.
I was thinking the green one.
A green chalkboard? You probably not black, or you probably use white, like baby powder, things like that.
All right, if there's no other questions, let's move on to congratulatory remarks.
You did an amazing job. It was very captivating, and I love how you were like totally yourself. Like you seemed like pretty nervous in the beginning, but you like as soon as you started like talking and stuff, it totally went away, and you like became this whole other person. It was really fun.
Thank you.
And I also like your I don't know what it's called.
Jacket.
I guess. Yeah.
It's back.
You sound very professional. I'm sure like a lab coat is helping with that.
Yes, I've become my character. D&D has enhanced my role play.
You really know what you're talking about. Like if you didn't know like or understand to know where you stood, but I couldn't be able to tell because like you just said everything with so much conviction. You just sounded really smart, I guess. So nice job.
Thank you. Ethan.
I really like how you exonerated an innocent man from jail by getting a live confession for the murder.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well,
So first, I take offense to being called not special on multiple occasions.
you're quite special. But
And
your fingers are
second,
not.
I've been like working with you since the beginning of Div 1, and it's been so much fun comparing our thoughts and trying different things out and just talking, and I can't wait till I get to Div 3 and we can do it again.
Thank you. I can't wait to. Molly.
I want to echo what other people are saying. Like, you were an amazing presenter, so good, and your presentation also was like engaging in and of itself, and also like your error analysis, your data analysis is so good. Like, part of being a scientist is knowing that okay, you've made the mistake, so you go back and you change and you revise and all this stuff. So it was so good how you started off and you're like, I think it's this, but then you found out it wasn't, and then you went back and changed. It's just so good.
Thank you.
I want to say your presentation was very captivating and interesting, and also just like reflecting on the past semester in MST. Like it's been great having you in class. You always put in a ton of effort. I could never push you hard enough. You always wanted more challenge, and it always wanted more challenge. It was so fun today watching you and Will work on those problems and just get so excited. And I really hope that you bring that into Div 3.
Thank you.
I love hearing the story that the CSI unit was your first, because I remember when here you were, this little 8th grader coming up mid-year and kind of quiet, and Lauren says, the old teacher says, and he brought his brother and he said, oh my gosh, there's a crime scene. And you had such, from that day forward, your curiosity, wonder, and inquiry is so high, and you bring that to all of your learning. And oftentimes as your teacher, it means pulling you in, going, no, this direction. But it drives you, and I know that you know that about yourself, but I think it's really important to acknowledge that and to say what a pleasure it is to have in a science math classroom, to have that sort of inquiry and curiosity. I also know that this presentation was such a great example of who you are as a scientist, because you ask such good questions. And it was funny to have our discussion about the deposition that sort of took place with Mirabelle, where you used your inquiry skills and you're like, I have a hunch. And I said, well, let's back it with evidence. And you went back, and what Molly saw is exactly that kind of conversation we had about who you are as a scientist and knowing when you need to go back and really push it. And I think it's, commendable, and it's so impressive, and it's what really gets you questioning and refining. And the other thing I want to say is, I didn't know that you, who identify as an introvert, is probably one of the most skilled presenters in this school. Seriously, that was amazing. You used all sorts of modes and mediums. You spoke just from the top of your head. You gave examples. And you really ought to think about being a teacher, because I can't believe how great that is. I think you enjoy putting on a different persona and then animating through that, and it was excellent. Really well done. So congratulations.
Like when Tiffany mentioned your curiosity from long time ago, I remember the day that I was ironing, and I left the iron on the ironing board. You were only 3. I went to bathroom, and coming back, you were at the bathroom door showing me your hand. It said, Mommy, iron was hot. You had burned your little 3-year-old hand, and you just wanted to see how it was. You were not hurt. It wasn't hurting you. Were just happy that you explored something.
Thank you, that was much needed. Thank you.
Hey Dave. Yes, I hope you've learned a little bit about lab safety. I love that story. Such a cool project, amazing job. I don't want to harp on all those amazing things, because Tip said it also eloquently. I love how you pulled your friends and your peers into this project. It really demonstrates how much, and how you did it. It demonstrates how much you love sharing your inquiry with everyone, which is so cool. I just gotta say, it is blowing my mind that you are going to Div 3 MST. It is wild. I'm so excited for you, and I'm also very excited to hear from you during academic advising when we do our little meetings every week, what you are working on, and to hear you talk about it. I'm very much looking forward to that. So nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add on, as your advisor, like, I get to see every single day in academic advising or tutorial, like, you are just working hard, and I know that a lot of times you'll go and you'll see Tiff or Kathleen, and you'll just get that help that you need. And so I just want to say, and I know we've all been saying it, but like, you worked really hard for this, and I think it really shows, and I think you did a really awesome job.
I know that these congratulatory remarks are not really supposed to be about the person speaking, but I really look forward to you telling me the things that you learned about Div 3 so I can be prepared when I go there. Oh, by the way, Exhibit 2 is a flagpole thing. You're gonna, yeah. Just so you know.
Giving it away.
Spoilers!
Spoilers. Been there, done that.
Very good.
All right, one last round of applause. stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it'll be here. It'll be here in an hour.
Oh, well, it used to be like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should have asked, if you brought snack to a gateway, what would you have brought?
Mac and cheese, obviously.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Alright, Relic, next, we're just gonna redo it next semester when hopefully we can have some snacks and
Oh, yes.
you'll live up to that. Alright, great.
All right, so we can just kind of hang out. I think the tradition's normally to come run up to them and hug them and jump on them, but not a good idea. So we'll just sit here
We'll just
awkwardly
see.
and
What do I do?
hang
You
out.
stand up.
Oh man. Okay.
You can tell jokes. You can still keep performing if you want.
Do you want to thank,
Before that.
What?
do you want to thank your teachers?
I will eventually.
Not
Here,
publicly.
I forgot to give out. I forgot to show Ben and Maribel, so I'm just gonna,